Macho John Madden Juanito in the Acoma Pueblo. It's about 4:30 in the morning. I went to bed early, slept really hard. I've been up for about an hour and a half, including dancing pretty enthusiastically for a while. Then I sat down to save one of those songs, and when I went to get up, I went, "You're tired, Jack. This is a good time to go back to bed." But on my way back to bed, I'm remembering a really important memory. Sometimes in the middle of the night, I kind of forget who I am. Unconsciousness, my first spiritual teacher, Sri Chinmoy, didn't like sleep because he went unconscious. Uh, and so, in terms of being conscious of who I really am, I had a memory just now that's really important for me to hold on to. It's 5 years old, but that's not very old. Asheville, North Carolina. I had woken up after 30 years of psychiatrically induced semi-comatose states and psychiatrically depressed. I was not psychiatric, but the psychiatric profession had made me depressed by a terrible wrongful label of bipolar and the horrid drugs. And then finally, life shot me free. Said, okay, forget about that. You learned what you had to learn from that. Now just be happy. So I had dropped it all and I was just happy. And I said to my doctor in Asheville, I've been a patient at the inpatient unit over at the Big Mission Hospital several times. We need to let them know that I'm no longer considered to be psychiatric. I had gotten a psychiatrist to say, looks like they had it wrong. Sorry, bud, because you're off all your meds and you're good as gold. So, but that hadn't happened. He didn't have privileges over there. He couldn't get anything in the record. So I had been hit in the face by a guy who had an infamous punch, broke my nose, and sent me into a big concussion that had me messed up for 15 days. I drove myself to the ER, walked in, said, here's what happened. I need you to check for a broken nose and concussion because I'm pretty out of it. I'm kind of a little woozy. And they saw me woozy, not quite with it, looked in the chart, saw all the psych hospitalizations, and they put me on the psych ward. So I was mad. And I called around and got my therapist, who knew I was not a mental patient, got word to the secretary of that psychiatrist to send over their notes. All I needed was them to send a release to the psychiatrist, and they would get the note saying I didn't belong there at all. So social worker said, we'll get to it. Go down to your room, give me half an hour, we'll get to it. So a half hour passed, and I went back, and they were in a meeting. All the therapists were behind the glass door in the big room in a meeting. So I went up and knocked, and social worker waved, we're kind of busy right now. So I sat by the side and noticed they weren't doing business. No, they were just schmoozing. They were just laughing and catching up with each other. And I wanted out. They had promised me that all they had to do was to send the release, and I'm a free man. Okay, I've been there 36 hours at that point. So I went and knocked harder. And the social worker looked at the security guard, who was a Buncombe County cop and a tough guy. The wrong person for a psych. More like, who was thinking? What were you thinking? She looked at him. He said, I'll handle it. He comes up, opens the door, gets nose to nose with me. This is Trump-style shock and awe policing. Says, get away from my door, with as much menace as he could muster. And I was so mad, and I knew he's got a gun, and he's got the power to make sure I stay here for a long time. So cool. So what I said was, your door? And he went insane. He screamed, now! I said, okay. And as I walked away, I turned over my shoulder and said, and they need a new security guard here because you're a bad cop. But